Hello and welcome to our third episode of the Council of the Roots of Lieutenant Max. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching Within the Ring of Fire, and make sure you go to drivethroughrpg.com and get your physical copies of Within the Ring of Fire, the role-playing game. Or you can hit me up, Anderwood, on Facebook.com, and for only $75, you can get a complete PDF package. Or 5 books for Within the Ring of Fire out now, and 3 more working on at the moment. You can get all that for only $75. It'll get you every PDF to ever come out. So certainly a great deal you want to take advantage of, if you will, baby. Now, you can also come join us on Raw Immersive Games on Facebook's official page for Within the Ring of Fire. Certainly something you want to do, and make sure you go and check out Lou's channel. What's the name of your what is the name of your channel, Lou?
Lou.
It's just Lou. It's just Lou. You can find it on my channel. I got the link up on the homepage. You go there, subscribe, make sure you get to watch all kinds of additional exciting Within the Ring of Fire RPG action live play style that we know that you love. So, let me hand it over to our Flame Tender Extraordinaire Max to take it away for the people, if you will.
All right, thanks. Well, the last time we left off, Shia had entered the long tunnels underneath the stone house found mysteriously in the middle of the dark forest, where she encountered a pedestal. In it, 12 crimson red teeth soaked in blood, and upon picking one of these up to inspect them, the room shook. Dirt fell from the walls, from the roof, and all the lights, all the candles went out in sync, leaving her in pitch black darkness. The only thing in her vision were 12 illuminated teeth hanging in the air, projecting primal feelings onto her. And in the stone house, the rest of the party are standing, weapons drawn, ready, poised behind walls, waiting for 2 iron-clad Ferrums who are about to enter over the doorstep. A large iron-clad boot makes its way into the house, and when it does, the shoulders, head, and chest of the Ferrum enter as well. His arms down, hanging, lazily holding a torch as he breathes a large exhale of relief as he makes it into his sanctuary. And as he does, he is greeted by some of you. And I would like you all to make a reaction roll, please. Except you, Megan.
I got a suppression.
I got a 7 and a 1, so it's a suppress. And it was 6 because I got a -1. So yeah, not good.
I got a
Okay,
13.
so
13.
is it, yeah, a 6? Jagada,
You got it's 13.
13.
Yeah.
Solmo, 17.
Yes.
All right, Solmo, kick us off. The Ferrum has just taken his first step into the stone house, where you and Jagada had positioned yourself on either side of the of the door frame. The door long since rotted away and gone.
So
What do you do?
I like sit up. I don't have my my Khopesh out. It's just sort of slung around my waist. But I was crouched down. But now I stand up showing my regalness. I extend my wings slightly, like to expand myself to show
Mhm.
as a royal person would, like properly meeting someone else. I kind of sit up. I say in Aziz, greetings there.
Mm. Well, as you alert the Ferrum of your presence, the one standing outside, sitting on top of the hog-tied Mihangi, springs to action in any way, shape, or fashion that a Ferrum can spring. He raises himself up off the Mihangi, pushing it back. It rolls away, and he grabs for his crossbow, already loaded. He makes a wide arc in the air, coming to the doorpost. But in the meantime,
I am trying to awe them. I should know.
Okay.
That was what I was trying to do, sir.
Mm-hmm. Sure. You could go ahead and roll, please, for your presence.
16.
A 16?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
17 actually.
17. Okay, the Ferrum who entered the building, who saw you, was first shocked, his eyes dilating, taking in your sight. He tensed up for a second, but then took a step back, looking at you with a furrowed brow. Jagada.
So he's standing right beside me because I was standing right beside.
You were standing on the opposite side of Solmo. So when he turned to face Solmo, he put his back on you.
Well, I have two daggers, a dagger in each hand. I'm gonna just try to put a dagger right to his throat. I don't want to kill it. I don't know what species this is. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what it's doing. That's going to be my action. Would you like me to roll to see if I can do it?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Go ahead. And I'll try to oppose it. All right.
Yeah. So 16 before. I need to work on my hit matrix. 27.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right.
Basically, I'm just trying to put it right to his throat. Putting him in that position, like you better realize that this is very serious. And I'm staring at him with the other one like held close to his face and blood.
Okay.
Very intense.
And as you put the blade to his throat, he tenses up once more, and this time screams something in a tongue that you are not aware of, and you can see the other Ferrum, illuminated by the torch he has dropped to the ground, slowly lowers his crossbow, but not putting it away, but lowering it as to show that he's not pointing it at your faces at this moment. Though, now that you have had a couple of seconds to take in the sights and look upon these Ferrum, you can see that they are prime specimens of their species. They are strong, rugged. They are built like brick houses, and they are clad in chain shirts and platings of iron.
So Dakar, realizing that they currently have the upper hand, he's going to gesture towards the one that lowered his crossbow, knowing that his life is being threatened. He's going to gesture to him and say, try to gesture for him to give over the crossbow.
Okay. He remains motionless, staring at the other Ferrum, as if waiting for maybe orders, maybe just a confirmation that he's safe. And as you stand there, the Ferrum tries to wrangle his way free from the grasp, even though the blade is firmly placed on his throat. He tries to knock his head back, swinging it at your nose, Jagada. And when he does this, you have the initiative to respond.
Just like that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he's going to try to attack me, I can't let that slide. As far as I know, this is some kind of a hostile horrendous creature. It's clad in loathsome iron. It's out here in the dark woods. It's clearly an enemy. So there you go.
All right.
Fight for
I'd like to have you roll, please. Okay.
Ooh, that's my dice unforgiving. Wow. 32.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
He's dealt with. All right. So already the dagger was literally at his throat. He tries to throw a shot at me with a crossbow. Right into the throat, torqued up, sliced down, sliced this way, sliced that way, pulled out. The flaps of skin open up, and a deluge of blood pours and erupts and spurts from his neck, both fast with a strong red color, brighter than the blood that is Fey wine, as it just gushes like a geyser from his throat and his eyes, growing to exceptionally Mabanshee-like wideness. In surprise and utter horror at his failure, he staggers towards me, whap, 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 taking several shots from my other dagger hand to the face as he falls to his knees, face plants into the room, spasming violently, blood pouring and pooling underneath him as his body gyrates in its death throes. The coppery iron, strange smell. The blood smells very strangely, and it fills and perfumes the room with a loathsome scent that is most abominable to the receptors of all Fae, save the ogre, perhaps.
The firm standing outside the stone house lets out a cry of sadness, of fear, and he turns around, and from his belt he dislodges an axe. He crushes the skull of the Mihangi as not to give him any trouble, before putting himself in a low pose, taking off his boots, dragging deep trenches in the dirt before he kicks off, now running like a meat bowling ball straight for the opening, staring at Yagata, and he's coming at you with everything he has. He's bull rushing you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. You can roll for a defense or...
I will. I believe I will.
Mm-hmm.
That's 11. That is 15.
15. All right. He makes it to the edge of the house, where he impossibly goes lower than you anticipate. Your daggers may be trying to stop him from gaining entrance to your personal sphere. Is reflected hard by the axe before he pushes his shoulder into your stomach, lifting you off the air, tossing you through the room, where you, for a brief second, makes contact with the table being set further back in the room, before the legs give away, cracks, wood and splinters rain, and a large booming sound is heard as both you and the now destroyed table comes crashing to the ground. He is standing directly over his fallen comrade's body, waving the axe in large sweeping motions, clearing a couple of centimeters, like half a meter, between him and you. Dakar.
Is that sustained?
So which Farum is closer to me? The one with the crossbow or the one who's currently swinging the axe?
Didn't give
they are
me...
one. Yeah, you take 2 damage from the. Yeah, and it's crushing, so it surpasses your leather jerkin. Dakar, they are one and the same. The first Farum who entered got killed by Jagada.
So Dakar goes, "Fool!" and he rushes towards the one that swung the axe. at Nagata. And he, with all the Ferrum's focus on Nagata, he tries to approach him at his rear and get a hold around his waist into. Yeah, if he needs to, he'll duck under the swing of the axe and get a hold around his waist, and he'll immediately lift the Ferrum up, over, and around, regardless of how much iron is coating his body. He's going to lift him up over his body and straight down towards the wooden ground of the structure that we're currently in, slamming him head first in a vicious German suplex. So I'll roll for him.
Sure. Go ahead. Oh. Okay. He rolled a 17 in defense.
Okay, I rolled a 11, then I have plus 5, so that's 16, and plus 2 for Forte and slams. So I think I rolled a, let's see, it's 11 plus 5, 17. So he still
17.
beats. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So he
so
was attacked the same round, so you get a bonus to your attack roll.
Oh, I
Are you
forgot
forgetting?
about that.
okay. So
We gotta-
usurp-
Oh wait, oh no, this guy wasn't attacked. Never mind, my error. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so as you try to get closer to him, he once again ducks into this impossibly low pose, his beard touching the wooden floor, and as you approach him, trying to put your arms around him, he swings around, almost making like something that would, for a more elegant being, would almost look like he was dancing, but this is purely, there is no cosmetic part of this, it's all functionality. And he swings around and he puts his elbow up, striking at your groin, for he is short and you are tall. And as he does, he lifts his metal coated arm up into your groin, pressing up and twisting as you try to crush what is there. And you take 3 points of damage as he drives his sharp metal coated arm into your under. He takes a step back, staring hastily between both Solmu and Jigata. And Solmu, what do you do?
You know, when the blood was, the man's throat was cut and the blood, as soon as the blood started shooting out of his neck, I immediately started to step back. I was all standing all proud, and my wings started to knock over a few clay bottles, a few other sort of tools hanging on the racks nearby in the wall. I'm caught off guard by the sudden violence that Yugata has put on this man. But it is her right. As I step back and I like my eyes go wide as in my muscles tense up as I see him gesture towards Yagata and then towards me. He makes that look at me, and I make straight eye contact with him. Take out the Kopesh at that point. In which case, then I go at him using what I can.
Okay.
To defend
Go ahead.
this woman.
It seems, yeah, go ahead.
21.
Oh yeah. It seems you catch him at a moment where the car slowly rises again. His focus is once again on the huge hulking beast in front of him, and he loses you with his eyes for just a second, leaving him quite unaware that you're about to strike at him. So please go ahead. You do not slay him, so please tell me the amount of damage that you deal.
I don't think I do anything to him. This guy's wearing he's completely encased, right? So, I dash at him again, my wings sort of folding back behind me. In that process, knocking down a few other things as the wingspan of my own wings are quite large. As I dash forward and I lunge with sort of an arcing motion, catching him on the shoulder, and the blade just slinks off, with a few sparks popping out as I try to get a cut there, but his armor is most certainly proving him well. just leaving a few scrapes on the shoulder. Really, my copper khopesh just goes across like that.
And the khopesh makes a disgusting whistling noise as it makes contact with the metal of his shoulder guards. And as this happens, he takes a step back, now with the air cleared where he bull rushed Yagata. He enters, he takes a couple of steps into the house, positioning himself next to and almost behind some of the knocked over chairs from the table, and he actually takes one and drags it in front of him as to make even the slightest obstacle between you and him. And as this is done, he stands now still swinging his axe over the chair, as having made a makeshift fort of some sort. But we'll retract for just a second, changing perspective in the vertical, entering the dark abyss underneath. For you, Shia, you are treated to other visions entirely. First, you feel like your gut is on fire. It erupts, making you sweat bullets as these waves of primal feelings are put onto you, and your mind, it feels like it's leaking, giving this entity, whatever it is, like a like a memory transfusion. You relive moments you wished to forget, and this feeling, this fire, it dies out just as suddenly as the candles have, replaced by a cold stone lying at the bottom of your stomach, and with it comes a sick craving that you've never felt before. You feel almost wanting to search and find dirt, mold, filth, things that have rotten in the ground, and bring them to you and consume them for energy, because you feel weak, and you feel that the filth would strengthen you. This cold stone lies in your stomach as you gaze upon these two sets of 6 blood-red teeth still hanging so very gently, hovering up and down in front of you in this pitch black darkness.
And it's an instant reaction as these feelings and waves hit myself. It's a collapsing inside, heaving, dry heaving where there's nothing coming out, a soul-racking shudder, pale in the face, eyes like wavering, shuddering as I'm trying to make focus on these floating crystalline red teeth, and a voice tries to come out as eyes flicker with visions not happening and fading in and out with these red crimson teeth, and it's a hollow feeling, and it's a scrambling to back away from the teeth, eyes never leaving it, can't bring myself to tear eyes away, captured, enraptured, despite myself, even though it's horrifying, completely driven by fear, eyes blown wide, in this darkness, even with, it's a surreal, even if you could hold up a light to my face and you would not be able to see the color of my eyes. And it's a rapid backpedaling on hands, on knees, backing as far as away, pulling face away in particular. Not quite able to quite escape, but making a attempt.
And from the darkness underneath the teeth, something comes out for you. A hand, not yet formed. You can see the bones, the flesh swirling around, morphing to fit this newly created material. The muscles stretch and bend to fit the fingers. Nails shoot out from under the skin, long and sharp. And more of this figure illuminates as the hand, also now the arm, glowing bright red in front of you. And you can feel that you are giving something from yourself to this being, but in this exchange, something is given back to you, and you get these mixed into the visions of your past, of a future not yet told. You can gaze upon what would look like a bird poised on top of the stone house's chimney. As you look around, you can see the trees, you can see the outskirts of this cleared haven where where only tree stumps lie. And you gaze beyond this part and you can see somewhere in the distance something, a dark mass is approaching slowly but steadily towards the stone house. And as these visions fade, something that looks quite familiar stands smiling in front of you. But once again, we return upstairs, where the Ferrum is swinging his axe, screaming incomprehensibly, pointing with his other hand towards the fallen Ferrum, and Solmu, Jigada, and Dekar. Saliva spits from his lips. He grits his teeth, and you can see that a small droplet of blood actually emerges from inside his mouth, where he must have bit his tongue, his cheek, something. What do you do?
So Dekar, clutching his groin in pain, he looks up from his damaged state and he sees the furious rage of the Ferrum. As you think you know pain, I'll show you. And I'll act when it's my turn to act.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Solmu, please.
I just step back after the sparks fly, and I see this man, strange, ugly, nearly. I mean, this thing is utterly despicable to me, to all of my senses, his rage, his physical appearance, everything, and what he did to Yagata. But I step back and I'm readying for another sort of blow. As I sort of nimbly step back, and as I step back, I turn slightly, and my left wing sort of buffets, moving the chair aside, getting ready to go at him.
Jigada?
I lay on the stone floor, with the wood broken all around me, blood spatters still on my face. There's a tremendous pain in my back. That's, the unalignment of having been slammed so hard through this table. Then I sort of roll my feet back over my head and flip to the side and roll up and stand up, holding a dagger that's just looks like it was just dropped inside a paint can. There's so much blood on it. I'm holding the other one. I look towards this strange creature. Having no idea what it is. Its beard, certainly a confusion to me. And then I just stand there like ready for it, awaiting it. Not really sure how to fight something this like so well armored. Certainly never having been against something like that, and feeling ill, at the entire assault of these things, the fear, the rage, the iron. I'm trying to make eye contact with it and trying to figure out, what this thing's going to do. If it's about to charge again, if it maybe is starting to become wise and see that it can't possibly win, or perhaps it thinks it can. So I'm trying to judge the situation right now.
And you actually make eye contact with it for a brief second before his eyes dart somewhere else, maybe fixated upon the Khopesh who slid across his armor. You can see that one of his eyes is copper red with features of brown, and the other seems to be milky white, as if blinded. And you clearly see that he has a large blind spot unless he positions himself correctly. And you would make of this that his sense of depth would be compromised as well. But he takes a step back onto the rug which you had pulled away to show the trap door. And as he does, he loses his footing for just a second, regaining it, slamming his heel into the trapdoor, which starts to tilt back, then falls over with a large crack. And he looks at it, almost as scared as when he saw his companion slain in front of him, and he drops his axe right there and then, and he points towards the trapdoor. And now, suddenly, all the rage melted off of him, replaced only with pure, unadulterated fear. He mumbles in this incomprehensible language towards you, almost stuttering on the words, trying to find enough air to sedate this feeling that's sure that can be displayed, that's displayed for all of you onto his face.
I like moved the chair away, and I see him as he moved, and I just sort of look at him in a guarded stance, my brow furrowed, I showing no manner of emotion, and looking at him, I slowly begin to pity him.
Dakar has a very different response. At this point, after he's been hit in the groin, he is almost blinded by his own fury. So with a growl, he starts to scream, he rushes towards him. When he dropped his axe, that's the worst mistake that he could have ever made. And he, almost in an attempt to charge through him, tackles him as hard as he can into whatever chair or whatever furniture is around in an attempt to put him through that furniture. You want me to roll?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. And that's 8 plus 5, 8, 7, 13. So 15.
15. All right, you managed to tackle him. Please go ahead.
All right, and so as soon as he gets on top of him, he goes into a blind fury, channeling that pain, that throbbing sensation that's still in his groin, and he starts to just pound away, first grabbing at his helmet and ripping it off, and he proceeds to beat him over and over and over again with that helmet, smashing that iron into the Faram's face. Irrelevant of the stink that comes from his blood, he tries to beat him to death with his own armor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and each blow lands harder than the previous, and...
Are you angry now? Are you angry now? This is true rage. This is the power of Mul. He continues to beat him over, over again until there's nothing left but red pulp and the smell of Faram all over his pink flesh.
Okay, I try to interject here.
Mm-hmm.
I get behind you. Oh, stop! This is madness.
He can hear nothing.
And the feelings
over
of
his own screen.
coming into you of my framed presence. Stop! It. I think I may have made a mistake. I think these may have not been enemies to Oz. Perhaps my hand rushed too quick to judgment. But when he began to come at me, I don't know, perhaps we had scared them, perhaps this is their home, and we are the interlopers, the intruders. Stop! Stop!
Eventually, when she starts to scream, he gets a hold of himself, and he looks around almost as if he's not aware of where he is. He's breathing hard.
Spare his life, please! Dakar, please.
He
I'm like almost shaking.
throws the helmet aside and rolls over. Still, he clutches at his groin again, and he's still breathing hard. He can hardly find the words to explain his behavior.
I look over you. Madness! Madness! Your anger is deranged. You must grab grip of your heart and take out such.
Look at what he did to you.
Unrealness.
You're bleeding everywhere, and he hit me in my groin.
But his friend, companion, perhaps lover, is dead. Perhaps this is their home. I have given reconsideration and thought. I look at my blood-soaked and coated dagger and almost this similar form of abomination. I sort of shudder, and I take a half step back. Just let go of him. Does this great creature look alive at all, or has it just been beaten into a pulp?
The firm's face has been remodeled. It's like you've taken what was a fine cast of his face, and you've poured some soft material into it, cast that material, and then stretched it, pulled it, twisted it until only vague features remain. And you can see that his nostrils have been gashed open, but they flare now wide. And you can see how something almost travels from his gut to his chest, up into his throat, and finally a huge discharge of blood leaves his mouth, covering him in this red tapestry. And the blood makes bubbles in his mouth as the air and blood struggles to see who is the dominant force in his life.
So Dakar, he looks at what he had done, and he hardly even realized what he was doing as he was doing it. And he looks at Yagata, and he thinks about what she's saying, that this might have been their home, that they might be intruding on their privacy, and he starts to feel a little bit of shame, and that's a different feeling for him.
You can definitely see shame reflecting back in my eyes as you look upon me, and I sort of quiver slightly. Yes, please, just stop. Just let him be. Let him be.
So he feels aggravated at this hint of self-loathing, and he steps away, looking away from Yagata, and he grabs at the bladder at his waist. It's full of alcohol of the most disgusting kind that only an ogre could drink, and he steps into a corner of the room, and he starts to drink as it's its only medicine for the rage that has ruled him for his entire existence.
I just watch you with a very sort of calm face. I'm still tense. I look back at Yagata.
Solmo, can you tell if he is even still alive? Whatever this thing is.
Like, I don't get anywhere close to it. Like, I'm still, like, quite far away from it. Looks dead. Looks dead to me.
I do the slow walk-ups on it and just start nudging it with my left boot, like...
And as you put your boots on him, he rolls over to his side. Blood spills out of his mouth, making a large pool of blood underneath him. But impossibly so, he puts a hand to the floor, raising his head just slightly so that his exhales doesn't go straight down into the newly made pool of blood, and you can hear his voice, his breathing coming in, wheezings.
I jump back reflexively. He's alive! He's alive!
I'm like looking at it, and then I look at you like expecting you to do something.
I look back at you. The pain he must be experiencing now.
He feels so as he hears that, he feels Dakar feels a bit of relief, and that relief lets him feel a little bit more comfortable. He turns around, truly man iron, never hit an ogre in his balls.
I just look at you like, ugh, this is disgusting.
Yeah, I do the same look like, well. And then I look back at you.
Your tongue, it's too loathsome to even be heard. The words that spill from your mouth, ogre.
Oh, you must do something here, Gara.
I am no surgeon. I am no leecher. I do not know the ideas here. All I have, perhaps we could get a little bit of fire.
This always helps when I'm feeling bad. So he walks over to the Ferrum, and he begins to pour that high-proof alcohol on his face, so maybe the grog will disinfect whatever wounds the ogre inflicted upon him.
I'm just watching.
And as you
Feel
do,
better now?
his whole body starts to convulse as he screams. He almost just lowers his jaw and then leaves his tongue sticking out of his face, screaming this regurgital scream that's just another tensing of the throat as he exhales. Ah! And he shakes furiously, and he lies down, still breathing, his breath making bubbles in the blood.
Dakar is surprised by the scream. He's like, it always makes me feel better.
I cover my ears and like my wings slap against the nearby just bowls and wooden cups and whatnot, and things just get thrown onto the ground as I have a spastic moment from his screams. Then I sort of control myself a bit. I shake my head like, oh.
I breathe in very deeply, centering myself, regaining my composure as I look on and begin to bring my faculties about me to this situation. We must attempt to help him. Solomon, please inspect him to make sure all weapons are taken from him, as well as this abomination that he wears about his perhaps soon-to-be corpse. I shall attempt to tend him as best I can, and I still have a torch that's lit here, which is our only light source. And I'm going to take out. I have a large number of candles, as I am, of course, a candler by profession, and I begin to take and I begin to heat it, and then I take out a rag and I wipe his face good, and I kind of shiver and tremble slightly under his blood being so close to me. On some primal level, it offends me more than I would have thought it would. And as I do that, I start to investigate, the horrible wounds he has all over himself, and what I'm gonna do is start melting wax to get it on his face to try to staunch up his wounds. It's the only idea that I have that would be perhaps helpful. And I'll look at you, Solomon, and I say, well, if as you say, Solomon, his wounds are grievous. Look how deeply he was struck. And I kind of give you a look like we're with a monster. We're with a disgusting, filthy monster that can do this to us. I kind of give you that kind of look. I think my eyes cut back. My back is kind of positioned in a way under car that you don't really see my face, but I kind of cut my eyes towards you like, fuck.
His screams. They will bring more fairies here.
If he cannot stop screaming, and if he cannot be healed, I
put the pretty man out of his misery like you did the other one.
Yes, I must give him mercy.
Drag the axe away.
And I just sort of slide. I'm very nimble. I just sort of slide, almost like a ballerina would, away from the car. I'm just so sickened at this outlash of utter violence, and then having to see and really face the true repercussion of it is just driving it home so viscally upon me. And it, but I fight, being a proper lady, I fight to hold it down.
Yeah. Okay.
See to it that his death is quick. Strange creature.
I don't know that I'm going to make that decision just yet. I'm going to give him several more moments of life to see if the balancing call of exhaust is beckoning for him, or if he shall be spared a pyre, or perhaps even a grave. I do not know.
Of course, you know best.
It would be. And I look at you and I smile. And
Moving the axe away.
And that, of course, fills me with self-confidence that I so desperately needed, and perhaps even makes me feel slightly pretty inside.
I will watch the door.
Yes, yes, you do that. My assertiveness beginning to shine. So I'm going to monitor him, Max, for the next probably maybe 8 minutes, let's say.
Sure.
Because I'm really trying to hope he pulls through. I don't want to kill him. But I don't want him sitting there suffering like that. That's very bad in there.
Yeah,
I had some of his blood in my hands. I'm trying to wipe it off somewhere else. As I'm at the door, my wide golden orbs for eyes, just sort of looking outside.
Yeah.
Just at the doorway.
So for a couple of minutes, you all look upon the Ferrum and his irregular breathing patterns, and once more we return to Shia, who now bears witness to a self-illuminated presence standing in front of her. The faint light coming off of it shows a naked woman in her best years standing in front of you, pale in her skin. There's something beautiful about her at first glance, and after that a feeling of recollection, of remembering comes upon you, and after that fear as you realize that you could just as well be staring into a mirror, for the presence in front of you, void of your clothing, is you.
And it's a look of stunned horror, scrambling backwards, stops. His hand goes from eerie, muscled, void of skin shadow that clings to skin and becomes a form that I recognize. And shock slows the crawling gradually until on back, frozen in position, not quite moving anywhere. Shock, fear, a look of almost horror as I can recognize this is not supposed to be. That is myself in front of me.
The lady puts a hand to her neck, making a slight cough, and then in a soft-spoken Pelganese she looks at you and speaks. So this is the shape I am being cast into. Let me introduce myself, you who brought me to life. I am the Rat Queen, the monarch of mice, the Lady Pestilence, the mother of filth, and she bows deeply, the daughter of Disronon. And I have fed for many, many cycles, thanks to the cowardly folk of Iron, who I have tamed. And you, finally, your spark ignites my soul, collapsing me onto myself, pouring me into this mold. And I must say, I am impressed. You are quite beautiful. And luckily for me, that means I am as well. and in my presence being beautiful as it is, even more disturbed filth can be brought upon it. And she takes some quite long, almost gliding strides until she stands next to you, and she reaches down, and with an uncanny strength she pulls you once again onto your feet, and then she stands back, clasping her hands together and putting them down to her side, giving you a gentle but firm stare.
And it's a almost dull reaction, not a limp, but a being posed, almost it's mechanical, eyes transfixed as looking in a mirror, mind still not quite catching up to what is happening, not understanding what has taken place before, not even understanding what is before her, because it is clearly not herself, since she is her own being. And these words almost wash over her, become a muddle in mind, not clear, listening but not quite hearing. It's a odd, but it's a horror-stricken face, a wide-eyed stare, watching, waiting for what to happen, being pulled to feet, not fighting, being pulled, hands being clasped, looking, just looking.
Once again she speaks. I am grateful. I was beginning to fear that I would be cast into the shape of those hairy ferrum men. No, this will do. This will do nicely. And she looks at you, and suddenly she smiles. Oh, there's no need for fear, gorgeous one. You birthed me. You, my mother. I have no ill intent towards you. No, I plan to reward you handsomely for bringing me back. And she reaches in past her first canine, and you can hear as she dislodges one of her teeth. And as soon as it is removed from her body, it begins to twirl, convulse, expand like a plague in sped up. It morphs in her hand until a tiny black rat looks at you eagerly, sniffing the air, and she puts this rat between you so it hangs on her hand in the air. And just take it. It's my gift to you. Don't be scared.
And eyes tear from face to look upon this manifestation taking place in the palm of her hand. The sickening noise causing her to wince as the teeth is pulled, but as it transforms, she is transfixed. She has never witnessed this magic, this mystique happening, taking place before her. She is a simple human. She is a hunter. She has never seen this before, never in her life. So it's this fascination looking on this creature and a not quite a dread feeling, but a introspective look. And as she looks at this creature, and it begins to process in her mind the power of exactly this being standing before her. And it's this feeling as she slowly reaches with both hands, gently, hesitantly, not quite snatching her hands away, not very in a meek fashion, but in a assured fashion. But it's as she looks back up, her eyes and her mind say, "What have I done?"
She seems very pleased that you reach out, and the rat jumps suddenly from one hand onto your chest. It overextends and it fumbles. Its tiny claws dig into your exposed neck, drawing tiny droplets of blood as it starts to perch itself onto your shoulder, squeaking from time to time. And she makes a sigh of relief. That's better. I knew you would come too. I have not been here for long, and I have done little to thank you, but I must take my leave. I have masses to cull. And as she speaks these words, you can see that she starts to laugh, and with this light, floating laugh, all of her teeth starts to fall out one by one, making sharp sounds as they hit the stone floor. Then her arm is ripped off, exposing bone and ligaments. The other arm, suddenly her body collapses onto itself until it is turned into this meat pile of flesh and bone, which starts to expand, contract, and suddenly explodes into an armada of the same black rats you saw earlier, and they move as one thick, hairy current past you, swarming around you, leaving just brushing actually up against you, some crawling over your legs when they try to get past you, and they're moving quickly back through the tunnel towards the hanging corpses and the stairs coming up.
It's a transfixed compulsion. She freezes as these teeth clink, pulling feet away, and as a reaction to see what is happening, the form falls to become the rats, freezing, almost concerned that they don't strike her, and just as soon as they have appeared, this horde of mass is already skittering behind her, and there's this long moment of registered silence, looking into the darkness that she is left with, that she has created. And then there's this shuddery intake of breath, and then a small little squeak on her shoulder that reminds her of what just happened. And she goes to turn and look back up the tunnel, and in a shuddering, shaking, sullen motion, she pulls herself to her feet, and she grasps in the dark to find a wall, pressing her hand against the stone, finding the corpses of the candles still there, not lit, but guiding her way. She uses her hand to pull herself back up the tunnel.
Yeah, and as you do, as your fingers make contact with first the stone and then gradually the dirt wall that makes up this tunnel, you feel that you know every crease, every deformity of these walls, like you have been here for cycles. Your breath, your voice has bounced off these surfaces for eons now, and you are sure that you would find your way, even if your eyes were closed and you didn't put your hand onto the wall. And this feeling comes to you, and it's strange. Suddenly you peer onwards, and you can see the current of rats explode up through the trap door. And Somu, Dekar, and Jagada, you as well, can see an armada of rats clinging to each other, propelled by some, like, almost an ungodly force, being shot through. First of all, the trap door is swung open with a loud crack as it looses from its hinges, and the rats are spewed out, squeaking, screaming, rolling around, trying to find bearing again. And they come as droplets on a window. They form, and they traverse the stone floor, and their claws scratch and make this cacophony as they ride up over your feet onto the broken table, trying to make their way out from the stone house.
Yeah, I see this, and I immediately turn around, and where a proper praying man would scream in horror, instead my brow furrows, and there's this light that begins to emanate that emanates naturally around me, but it begins to get brighter and brighter, and my eyes begin to get brighter and brighter, and then I shout, my mouth like a bursting with golden light, as my eyes shine with a great beam of golden light illuminating the entirety of this house, as I scream in Dazaziz, commanding, using my one of my abilities, thinking that this is some sort of demon made manifest. I scream, "Flee from here! You will not find your home in our bodies!" And I'm commanding, trying to use my presence in this great burst of glory that is the sun. Trying to instead use this burst to dominate my own fears, though it is very much behind my thoughts at this moment.
And the rats.
Max, quick question for you. How long after I started my ministrations towards this Farum did the rats appear?
I can actually tell you the breaths of the Farum started coming in more regularly. The pattern more easily readable, and the breaths firmer and more stable. And it's been around 4-5 minutes since you started tending to him.
And then the eruption of rats.
Mm-hmm.
I leap back. My daggers returning quickly to my hand. They had been, in the interval of time betwixt here, they had been cleaned of this loathsome blood of this creature. Not that any blood is welcome by me, but his face covered sort of like almost a mask, almost a macabre death mask of wax, dripped slowly from the candle, one drop by one drop, as the torch burned over him in the stone room, and the smell of it ashing, mixing with the melted wax and candle. I leap back in surprise, holding both dagger and torch in this hand and dagger in this hand. "Quickly, all of you, out! Out!" And just my eyes, my huge eyes get so much larger, as I can't believe I'm going to say this. "Into the forest!" And I begin to back myself up, trying to get them out of the domicile before me, knowing them as my companions, and to know they must be helped. I know the one down there inside. Nothing can be done for her. If there's such an eruption of these creatures, and he's screaming about some sort of possession,
yeah,
and that just seems beyond capacity to do anything about.
Okay. And you start to try to move everyone back, but as Somo, you finish your speech and your eyes and body is illuminated. The rats stop suddenly, looking up at you, and they do this in sync. All at once, their heads go up, face you, and you have them all transfixed. And Shia, once again, when you put your hand onto the wall, It feels like your fingertips guide you through the roots in their intricate connections. You feel like just a couple of paces away from you, 2 feet are firmly placed onto the soil above you, and suddenly you feel one of them shift, and something changes in its posture. And Solmu, you gaze suddenly out towards the forest when Jagada screams, "We have to get back into the forest." You look, and stopping just moments from the center piece between your eyes, an arrow woven of pitch black darkness is pushed and twisted, and it almost is disintegrated before it could penetrate your head by the light illuminated from your eyes. And as you gaze, as these almost headlights, that is your eyes, reach out into the forest, you can see Amihangi standing with a long curled bow made of the same ghostly dark matter, standing suddenly dumbfounded, rushing back into the safety of the trees. The rats still transfixed on you.
Then I buffeted my wings, like almost like a like now I'm noticeably very sort of dominant in my demeanor, but I do like I buffet my wings almost towards the rats to like help, as if like a broom to sweep them away as their attention's on me, and then then I move with Jagada, but my expression is very sort of fierce, and as my eyes slowly begin to fall, recede back, the glow dims slightly, there still being a beautiful golden glow emitted around me as I do step out of the cottage with her.
So Dakar's first response after seeing the rats, it's at first anger, in that he's being challenged by this horde of rats, and so he thinks to start picking a rat up, biting its head off and throwing it aside, enjoying himself a meal in the opportunity that he can, but soon enough he sees that there are too many rats even for himself to handle. So with a grunt, he starts to be overcome by the rats. They start to crawl up, and he starts picking them off, and he realizes, no, this is too much, and he starts to follow Yagata outside of the cottage.
I'm silent, but I'm following Yagata.
Well, I was trying to get both of you out first, so I would be the last in line.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm staring in complete confusion, mixed with horror, mixed with sickness at these despicable creatures as they boil up from the depths. No doubt is somehow in league with these strange creatures I'm seeing here. I'm flummoxed, if I'm to be in thought. And I suppose now you're saying, as I come out here, daggers and torch in hand, that I see Mihangi's eyes reflecting back at me from the dark wood.
He ran off, right?
But you're saying I see him when I come out, or did I not see him? That's what I'm trying to get clear. Because I would have been the last one out.
Well, it was hard to not notice the shadow-formed arrow enter the cottage, exploding out into tiny strands. And as your gaze followed what must have launched this arrow, you can all see the final foot, leg, or knee retract out of sight.
All right. So having seen this thing, I mean, if it was like if we were here and it was here and it's going here, I want to go over this way.
Mm-hmm.
This way. I just turn. Follow me. Let us go this way. And I stop for a moment, looking at both of them, just to see if they're going to follow me. Never having really had my credentials in that area before.
I like fiercely look at where that Miyagi was, and then like almost like ferociously, and then it kind of calms back down to a tranquil state as I look back at you and I give a slight smile.
In the chaos of the situation, Dakar is very responsive to commands, and he does follow.
I say, light will not live here. Linger your gaze no longer. Stick your eyes upon the flame, and let Morgul be our guide. He has given unto this world his daughter, Sitchin, and by my hand, hopefully, we shall escape this abyss of horror. Oh, I'm so
We
sorry
will escape.
I brought you here.
We will escape, my sister.
I like how I look down, as he calls me sister, I just look down at my feet and just sort of kick the ground slightly, like all just deflated. And I don't say anything else, but I turn and I start moving. And if that isn't to the west, to the best of my being able to tell, I'll try to make arrangements to move us to the west. And the west is best for getting out of here, as I am quite skilled outdoorsman.
Sure.
Are we to leave Chia to her fate?
Black magic has taken her. She has been possessed. Assuredly.
I don't even say anything to that. I'm like, well, I mean, it was just a filthy human anyway.
And Shia, you could not help but overhear the alarmed shrieks of the rest of the group as the rats spewed out from the underbelly. And you could also hear the booming voice, first foreign to you, but then you realize it's Solmu speaking, not in his usual calm manner, but in a demanding, controlling fashion. And you could hear them all exit the area of which you can hear, which means they must have removed themselves in one shape or another from the cottage.
And hands rushing as she finds more assured footing, moving upwards, up the tunnel, up closer to the stairs, to where she can see light, and she can see the form of the stairs, and her hand almost unconsciously stays on the wall, and then it hits stone, and then it's almost a reaction as though she had forgotten the stone was there, but at the same time realizing she always knew it was there, but it was one of those things where it wasn't as pleasant to touch as the dirt of the wall. And so she recoils her hand and looks at the stone wall, looks in disgust over these hanging creatures one more time, and almost not in a frightened manner, but in a contemplative manner, she draws her hand to her lips, and she realizes she's acting upon that instinct of the dirt touching her lips, and she stops herself almost in a shaming manner, pulling her hand back down and then rushing back up the stairs to see what became of her companions after this bombardment of rats invaded. And so rushing up the stairs, her feet hitting each step, she comes out of the trap door, already sprung open wide. She comes out, pulls herself up, and sees this disarray from the rats skittering across the floor, from things being knocked over, forms laying on the ground, and it's a very quick, brisk, one turn from the left to the right, she taking in this the entirety of the room.
Yeah, and you can actually see off in the distance the faint glow of Solmu as the group starts to move away from the field of vision given to you by the door frame. You can see the last glimmers of his golden exterior, and you also gaze upon the stone and wooden floor, where small remnants of the rats still linger. Most of them have, it seemed, moved into hiding places or out from the stone cottage, but some still lingers, looking about. But they are no more than 20 in total, from a fast jolted head count.
Remember, we
21
also have a torch. In terms of her being able to see us,
Mm-hmm.
we have a torch too.
Oh yeah, sure. And, well, 21 rats, counting the one still poised upon your shoulder. Yeah, go ahead.
And it's a slow picking at first across the floor, noting each rat as she sees them, eyes kind of lingering as she finds each one. Hesitant as to how she should respond. Should she be responding with fear, anger, or a sense of regret? She is uncertain, or if she should be trusting of these rats. She should be thankful. Did she do something good? Did she do something wrong? She's uncertain. So it's a slow picking through, looking at these rats, watching what they're doing, simply being rats, this skittering over her shoulder, reminding me she is in possession of one of them now. And then she looks back up to the fading light of her companions, their torchlight and the light of the storm in the distance, great wings fluttering behind him, very distinctly marking him out in the forest. And she picks up her step and moves forward through the house.
And as you do, something stops you, not with an alarming amount of force, but still enough to put you off your balance, as the ferrum that was tended to by Yagada stretches out the hand and grasps at your ankle. Still blood pouring from his mouth, as now he tries to stand up. He comes slowly up on one knee. You can see his eyes has this dead stare to them, and he looks at you menacingly and at the rat on your shoulder as he drags, he moves down, lets go of your ankle, and with his other arm drags the axe across the floor until he gets it down, grasping it with both his hands, and he points at the door and he shakes his head. And it doesn't take knowing Thulian to understand that he has no intention of letting you leave.
And it was a recoiling very quickly, a snatching of the leg as this hand makes her stumble, this force, it stumbles forward, and then it's a quick snatching of the leg before she even turns to look at what it is. And then it's a slow registering of this creature, and her first compulsion is this roll of pity through her stomach, through her chest, this creature badly injured, badly disformed. And then as it reaches for its ass, slowly dragging metal, scraping across the floor, and coming into its hands and gesturing to the door, there's this relief of the pity, and then a slow sinking as it hardens into a surge of foreboding, looking at him. And she takes a couple more shuffling steps toward the door, a hardening coming over her features, a determined look coming over her face.
He takes one more step towards you, but his footing is disrupted as he steps onto one of the 20 remaining rats. This puts him off his balance, twirls him around 90 degrees, and he slams his shoulder hard into the ground. He puts his axe down. His head, his eyes no longer fixed on you. They dart all over the room, so, threatening to curl back into his skull. His one functional eye. He stumbles onto his feet again, and then he starts with this mantra, these 4 words he repeats over and over again to himself, to you. And he gets up onto his feet. What do you do?
It's a movement towards the door. This creature is on his last legs. There's no need to beat the bloody horse. There's no need to cause us any more harm. Excuse me, she does what the horse is, but she looks at this creature. There's no need to strike even more. This creature cannot possibly follow her if she decided to turn and bolt. And so it's less of a shuffle, assured steps towards the door. A very determined message without her speaking at all. Her body language saying she is leaving. She is not taking any permission, and it is a casting a look at him, taking a couple more steps away from him, almost putting her in the threshold of the door before she starts to actually turn and head out at a brisk pace to the distance of the lighted creatures in the forest.
And with your last seconds gazing upon him, you can see that he tenses one last time before the wounds of his face burst open once more, covering him in first a coat of coagulated blood and now a new coat. He drops his axe, he drops to his knees, his hands firmly placed, putting him on all fours, and he sobs loudly as he draws his last breath. For when he goes down on all fours, he is mere centimeters from his fallen companion, and he makes no attempt to follow you.
And a sullen, shaken breath that only a person who can witness a death that could have been avoidable, that one that sense a almost pityance for your enemy towards her, and she moves brisker and brisker till she is almost running out away from this house, still haunted by this living creature kind of that is sunken into the folds of her cloth and into her furs that are on her shoulders, grasping on, still maintaining its hold, chittering very quietly beneath her ear, reminding her she's going to be haunted by this place for a very, very long time as she tries to make her way to the familiar lights of torches and her companions.
And the loud sobs and the ruckus from the cottage is enough for the group to realize your presence in the opening. And, well, what do you do?
Notice the presence of
Shia as she stands in the doorframe.
I immediately, I almost huck a dagger at her, just naturally assuming this would be a Mihan Gi. Well, as soon as I see someone or something, my eyes get wide. Shia, you're alive?
Tell us of your glories of killing all those little creatures. Is that rat visible on your shoulder right now?
I would say it is, yes. It's a little peeking head up.
I'm looking all confused, like, huh?
There's something on you. Something is on you.
Yes.
All.
Yes, look.
And it's almost as though she can't find the words, looking in each of your faces. It's an almost soul-searching look. I'm devoid of words to speak. I can't even find these words in this foreign language, this language I've learned as a second or third language. And it's a mind can't compute to even put it in Pelganese right now. And this rat chittering on her shoulder, and she kind of almost like reflexively goes to push it off, and then stops and looks at it and clenches her hand. And then she just ends up staring at it for a very long moment.
Are you there, Chia?
She looks back away from the rat to Solmu, and a clearing of her throat and her voice, where it had once had a silken quality to it, is now hoarse. Even though she hasn't been saying anything, it's a disused, gravelly tone. As she clears her throat and attempts to speak, and she goes, "I'm standing right before you."
Good. We must go then. Yukata?
Just keep coming this way. I still sort of in a shock.
That too.
Confused. And I feel like some sort of wrongness, but I don't know how to understand or place it. So I try to push it away for the moment, concentrating on westwardness. I think this is the right way to go. We must keep our torch as dim as possible, so as not to attract more of what did you call them? Biters? Yes.
Yes. I can see pretty well at night, but I think they can see better. They know this area better than we do.
Yeah, that is without question. And let us continue then. I kind of look down, kind of, I don't know, disturbed. And I begin to stop talking and sort of concentrating on my inner thoughts, trying to sort out how I feel about all of this. I feel conflicted. But I continue to move us, trying to get us out of the dark forest.
Before you
Dakar is
like
very
return.
curious.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, you go.
Like, you
oh,
know,
yeah,
I'm
Dakar's
gonna
is
put-
very,
Sorry, go ahead.
he's just very curious, but he doesn't say anything because he's realized we're walking through this dark forest where we could likely be watched. So he keeps it to himself for now, but he wants to ask Chia a lot of questions. So he glances at her a lot, looking mostly at that rat on her shoulder that she doesn't seem to be all that bothered by. Dakar wants to eat it, but it seems that she's somewhat attached to it at this point, so he doesn't say anything.
I put my hand on your shoulder. You gotta, when you're, like, you look a little flustered to me at least. So,
I perk up quickly when you do this. Yes?
show us the way out.
I am. You need to concentrate on your footfalls.
Of course.
Kind of look at you crossly like a male stepping out of line.
Then, I put my hand back and I step back.
So I begin to become, that seemed to have agitated me slightly, but like a wasp left to her own devices, I slowly become tranquil again. And I am of course leading us out of here if I can. I have no idea where we are.
Yeah, you could actually. I would like you to make an endorsement roll because of the sudden shift in direction.
Well, fortunately, I have in the intervening time gained another great outdoorsman. Who would have thought? Obviously, a good place to train that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see here. 19.
19. All right, you have narrowed the possible spectrum of the possible angle, and you're quite sure that in just an hour, maybe an hour and a half, you will once again gaze upon the sun in all its radiant glory if you continue at a steady pace.
Well, I am definitely going to continue. In fact, perhaps quicken that pace. But I also do want to point out that even though I'm doing that, I'm constantly, reflexively, I tend to look down and I'm looking for anything herbal. And of course, we still don't have what we actually came in here for.
That is true.
So if I could find that. But that's not really a priority at this moment. My duty to community is to return all of us there as opposed to finding this route at the moment. But I will look, and for anything else as well, that could be of use. As we already are out here, and we must make the best of that.
Okay. And you have been moving, shuffling through this hostile terrain, still unawares, still aware of both the soil, what crawls upon it, and what could be lurking behind every tree. But the outer regions, the provinces of the Dark Forest is not as populated as you would imagine. You do not come into contact with any scouting parties, not for the first half hour of travel. And after traveling for half an hour, you are all bruised, you are fatigued, for these are not normal hiking conditions. You often have to take detours, move things, move heavy logs of trees who have fallen over, and branches. It seems like the wood is almost trying to hinder your passage in an intelligent and aware way. The branches always seems to cling to your clothing, ripping at you, tugging you, making maneuvering difficult, and every feet that you move, every 100 feet is straight. It strains you. It tires your muscles and wears down your psyche. For the faint glow of the torch always casts these long, ghastly shadows upon the trees, which makes you almost instinctively jump and see if something has sprung to life from the outskirts of your haven of light.
And I certainly do feel that fear upon me, that constant paranoia, the possibility of eyes lurking and looking out upon us, viewing us as the predator, viewing us from the aspect of carnivore. And it does quicken my pace, but I do try to hold in my tranquility. I do try to hold on to my courage. I try to hold on to the light that's in my hand of Grandfather Morgul, the burning, cleaning light that clears away the darkness and shows the road and path to salvation. These thoughts linger in my mind as my eyes dart about the forest bed, searching for roots and bulbs and funguses and beetles and any such thing that might provide use to my community. For it is to my community my loyalty lies.
The Dark Forest make Dakar somewhat uneasy. It's less so the fact that they might be watched, and more so the fact that everything seems just a little bit too quiet and just a little bit like they're walking into a trap. He takes refuge into his drink as they walk. You'll notice as they make their way through the dense and oftentimes dense vegetation. He takes sips from his drink, and he thinks and almost loses himself in thoughts of Farragher's demise and thoughts of running into the mother of the Strangler. He hopes that they run into a hunting party rather than avoids them. He doesn't realize that they are necessarily trying to leave the forest. He thinks they're still looking for what they came to the forest to look for. So he's in a state of almost agitated anticipation as they make their way through the forest.
I watch Gia now and then, but I move silently, very stoically. The effects don't visibly seem to affect me at all, and even in my sort of inner monologue, they don't seem to affect, as I have seen the power that the sun grants me. That gives me a lot of courage.
And with this courage comes focus, there comes clarity, and as you gaze upon the darkness, the being, the wolf fairy who shot at you before pops in and out, just out of reach, clearly tracking you and your party. And you have noticed him now for the last 15 minutes be standing just outside, gazing at you all.
Be at the ready.
Mm-hmm. And when Jigara, you would assume that half of this hellish hike has been completed, you hear the faintest of muffled sobs come from the north, and they come in these quick bursts, and at first there's just these hulkings, these small cries which you would not particularly, you wouldn't think that these belong in the dark forest. And as you listen closely, as you start to listen and as they gain your attention, you can hear a tiny voice in Dasasier's, "Someone help me, please, anyone."
My ears perk up and wiggle slightly. I sniff the air, and I begin to become quieter. So I'm stealthy and head that way. Not definitely believing there's a possibility of a trap, but finding the courage in my heart to overcome fear and to head that way. Perhaps it could be someone that is known to me, and they must be helped and saved. But at the same time, it begs many questions in my mind.
Do follow.
I'll whisper, "There may be some sort of a trap here. Have your weapons at the ready, so that we are not prey."
So Dakar takes his sling and puts it over his shoulder. In his left hand, he holds his bladder of alcohol, and a smirk comes onto his face as he feels a tinge of excitement run up his spine at the possibility that they might be walking into a trap, at the possibility that they might be walking into a situation where he can show his rage for the glory of Mool, and that he can go and have a ending like Faraggur and make Mool proud and show that rage is the way.
And myself, you've more perceptive of the party, you may have noticed. She is actually more reserved into herself. Normally she is quiet, following along and kind of trailing in the back, but she's introspective. It is a not quite there, not a something is wrong, but a methodical, lost in thought expression on her face. Rat skittering from shoulder to shoulder occasionally, and it's almost reflexively as the rat starts skittering down, and it's a pushback up in the shoulder, not really even thinking about it. Reflecting, quietly moving over things, and at this, she is a little bit more of a slow response to grab her spear from where it has been slung upon her back, and it's a almost remembrance of she's landed on it, and she's pulls it back, worrying that she has dented or damaged the spear, looking down at it, not really in tune with the rest of the party, not outlandishly, but it's something's off about her kind of way.
Eventually, the sobs become, as you draw nearer, the sobs become clearer to you, and it is you're quite sure that you are listening to the beggings of a Freyine female. And a couple of not very far because the light you cast doesn't reach very far, but you can start to make out the contours, the silhouette of a freeing woman hanging upside down from a large branch where her feet seems to have been caught and her body flung up in a snare trap. And I would like you all to make a perception roll now. Thank you.
Ooh, no. Yeah, I completely botched. I got a 1 and a 3, so I didn't notice anything.
All right.
19.
19.
13.
20.
Okay. Well then, Shia and Somu, you pick up only ever so slightly the sour smells of the soil fades just for a moment, and a puffet of sweet scent comes to you, and you are reminded of the scent of the rooted mihangi that you met only minutes entering the forest after Yigata poured onto them the content of her rucksack.
Do you smell that? That sweet scent. It is bitter, then sweet.
No,
And
no, I don't smell it.
I don't smell nothing.
Chia actually speaks up as well, and she goes, "No, I smell it as well, that sickly sweet smell." Kind of almost looking around, trying to find the source of the smell.
I
And
slow
as
down
you-
and I'm looking.
As you bring attention to the smell, you pick it up as well. Only having to be made aware of its presence, it suddenly whisks its way past your nostrils and you inhale. And with this sudden yet muffled conversation taking place between Shia and Somu, the sobs of the freeing woman stops, and she speaks. Hello? Who's there? Please just let me go.
Who are you?
I am Sarai. I
The name familiar?
actually what would be an appropriate role to figure out
I mean, I'm from a community.
yeah.
I would imagine I would know everyone's name, particularly being a priestess of community.
Yeah, sure. Then I could have you actually make an enlightenment roll, just with the stats pure.
Oh, and I have succeeded. Yeah, I rolled an 8 and a 7, and my enlightenment bonus is +4.
Mm. This woman, Sarai, she is the cousin of one of the women who trained with you under Unaya, but she was deemed too clumsy to continue her apprenticeship, and she swore that she would bring back something to prove herself in the eyes of Junaya. And since then, you haven't seen her. You figured she returned to a safer place, maybe somewhere closer to Freyheim. But here she.
How long ago was that? The last time I.
Yeah, the thing is, that was forever ago. You were you were a lot younger back then. It has to be at least 8 cycles.
Oh, okay. I hasten my steps. It is I, Yigata. your old friend.
Oh, you have to get me down from here,
Down?
please.
Where are you? What do you mean down? And of course, I mean naturally my eyes are going to go up as I move forward, following their voice.
The I have walked into a trap.
Trap. All right, so I'm definitely also going to be cautious because I don't know what she means by a trap, but if there's one trap, there could be another. So I keep scanning up, and I begin to move much slower than I initially was, even though I had just recently begun to move faster. Keep guiding me. Guide me to you with your voice.
This
And
way,
I
fast.
begin to glow ever so slightly, the faint shades of the sun. And I do move towards her, but I don't move faster. My instincts tell me caution, so that's what I obey, and I move slowly, palming a dagger, holding a torch.
Hurry, fast. The other wolves, the Ulfer, they could come at any second.
I move slightly slower still when she says this,
Mm-hmm.
finding something off there. But I do continue towards her with. She's a voice shot. Surely she can't be but so far away.
I'm gonna stay close to Yagata, knowing that she could be walking into a trap, and eager to defend whatever trap may come.
Oh, you gotta.
Yes,
Are
I'm here.
Are you alone? Are you alone here? Are we safe? How many are with you?
Yes, I'm alone, and I glance back with an eye towards the others. I am alone, and remember, I'm using my stealth, so I realize that some of them are making noise, but if I'm not, that could simply be the noise I'm making.
Sure.
I stop.
Oh, you should have seen their faces.
It's just I am out here gathering roots, bulbs, herbs, funguses, small beetles.
Oh,
Normal things.
yeah, normal. Well, you should have seen them. Their ferocious faces as they hang me here to perish, to starve. Oh, please,
This is a
come.
horrible thing. I'm coming so quickly to you. Calm yourself. Face yourself to the gifts Desazea has given you in your ataraxia. You must find peace and comfort now as I come to you.
Yes, my Atraxnia. It's I have lost it. It should be somewhere around here. They took all my belongings.
You lost that belonging then?
Yes, they stole everything. My Atranaxia. They. But I don't need it. I can buy a new one. Please.
I go ahead and pull my other dagger out, and I slide the torch back for my ogre Rakor to perhaps take from me.
He takes the torch.
And now I have both my daggers in my hand. And I take my dagger and I tap it 3 times against your belly, and I look in your eyes, and I look towards towards your sling, as that's easier than trying to look at your muscles or something.
The sling is currently around his neck, so he can hold the torch.
And I nod my head and look at you, giving you the sign, and then back to each of you. And I have the daggers, and I take them, and I rub them ever so slightly, not enough to make noise, but just enough, and I hold them up in a very much a fighting posture. Yes, I'm coming. Don't worry. I'll sure I'll find you in just a moment. And I really try to hone in on her voice, Max, as I attempt to make my way towards her, using my stealth. And I am going to sort of circle away. So I want to I think this is some sort of trap, and I want to double bluff her, whatever this thing is, and have her think that the noise from the ogre's footfalls are me. That's, of course, I've just moved the torch to him, and I've moved away.
So when she moves away, Dakar is going to begin to move slowly at a similar pace in the direction that she was going, trying to follow her lead.
Okay.
And I will say to her before I move, just keep talking so I may find you. And that's when I move away so that I can deal the justice that must be done.
Oh, you're. Oh, I can't believe you have come for me, old friend. Oh, these are happy tidings. And as she says this, please make that stealth roll.
I will. Oh, booyah! Oh. All right, so that's 18 before I even add bonuses.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
18,
Well,
22, 26.
Mm-hmm. And as you move in this circular shape, slowly, spiraling towards her, you quietly put your feet on top of roots, sliding down, putting your feet down before the sliding noise before you would put any weight on that foot, and you actually put yourself with your back up against a tree, and on your left and your right, unaware of you, two Bob and Sith move towards the torch wielding ogre who they assume is you.
Yeah, I'm gonna just murder the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be a straight murder and just and 2 daggers right into the back, Jack. And that's a as I do with the stealth. That is a reaction attack.
Yeah. Okay. The other with the sound of the Bob and Sith hitting the ground and the slight whistling of your daggers, the remaining Bob and Sith starts to look behind her. But please roll your reaction.
Oh.
Oh, jeez.
That 7 and 8 has been showing up like a lot today.
Yeah.
I've been rolling terrible. Do you want me to roll a reaction too?
Sure, go ahead.
I have a 23.
23? All right. Yeah. You gotta go ahead. Your reflexes and speed seem to have caught both the Babanshi unawares.
First Babanshi was dealt with, or
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
So the dagger penetrates right into the spinal column at the base of the neck of the first Babanshi. A lone, long trickle of blood comes out as her incredibly wide eyes grow even fantastically larger in the darkness, reflecting off the torchlight of Morgul, and light for her fire shall be a wicked thing. And as she gasps slightly, the other one turns, and as she turns, a flash of copper shines in the light as from the blackness the justice is dealt by a powerful Thrain, and I'm going to attack her.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Oh, and that's a suppress from me, all right. What do you roll?
8s are going crazy for me, my friend. That's going to be 30.
30, all right. Please go ahead. Describe whatever you please.
All right,
She's
so
dealt with.
the first one, as that dagger penetrates the vertebrae, she hits her knees and hits into the dry pine straw beneath her. The other one turns and looks, and as she does, she sees a slight shadow momentarily appear from the darkness, slash her throat from one side to the other, coming up to the base of her ear and sliding down slightly. The blood pours from her throat down her pale, naked body, down her breast, pooling in her navel, down her legs, as she desperately tries with her own long, wickedly clawed hands in the darkness to be a thing of horror. She finds herself only a thing of fear. And as the shadow falls to the ground, so does she, with a secondary thudding sound. I stand behind her, plucking my other dagger from her sister's neck, looking down at both of them with utter disgust on my face, and the frantic sort of hatred you have to know that one of your own colony has been fought. And I look back. I probably look back towards towards you and
Mhm.
glance at the torch and look down at their bodies.
And
Yeah, so
now,
Dakar only rolled an 8, so he by the time he reacted, both of the Babanshi are already down, and he looks with a combination of impressed. He's both impressed and he's a little bit disappointed that our would be pursuers, our would be um, uh, people surprisers are already down.
and when you've taken a couple of firm steps towards the sobbing individual, you can actually start to make out her features, and this is true for Chia and Solmu as well. And you can see something, a being of light skin, wrapped, all her whole body wrapped in fabric, displaying only tiny portions of her skin. And from this cocoon of textile comes still these quiet sobs and, oh, you gotta, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
And now that your voice seems to come from a place closer, she actually, in Dazazier's screams suddenly, "Sisters, get her!" before she almost bites her lip and repeats the sentence in a language foreign to you, which must be the tongue of the Babanshi. And then the whole forest goes quiet, and once again the word that has to be sisters, for it came right after the Sassiaisen version of the sentence, comes again, and it echoes out once more into the darkness. And now you can see the cocoon of fabric trying to, like Houdini, tear at it, trying to break free of this makeshift trap.
I twirl around, my wings, expand out, in some sort of quiet, and I grab for my khopesh, and I unclip it from my belt, and I take it out, and I'm just sort of looking around, and surprisingly, I put my back to Chia as I sort of look out in one direction, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Careful, Solomon might stab you.
Yep, as like an immediate sort of reflex, then.
And then Chia is a little bit more confused as to this whole thing. She has no idea about these strange traditions. She had no idea this was a trap. So it's a confusion as she hears bodies hit the ground, just yelling out sisters, and it's a looking around, kind of unsure what to do. It's a wielding a spear, but not really pointing it at anything, and looking around at the companions, kind of trying to gauge them, and watching Yagata kill, and watching Solomon react, and the rest, and it's almost like a uncertainty, not really doing a whole lot of anything.
Prepare yourself. The forest goes quiet.
The creature hanging from the snare has managed to free the upper part of her body, and you can now see that she is indeed one of the Babanshi. Though you are not quite sure why she knows the language of the sun-touched, but she seems to, and she spoke it with ease.
This same creature that seems to be Babanshi that's undoing itself has the voice of my friend.
Indeed.
I'm quite perplexed not knowing the ways of Babanshi. You, demon of darkness, how dare you speak the tongue of light? How dare you impersonate my sister? You speak of sisters and you take one from me, and you speak her name mocking? Cut your eyes from your head.
Oh.
Um,
And she once again she switches to the Zazies. Oh, now, we can strike a deal. Yes, we can. Yes, you let me come down from this. My sisters have been dealt with. I am harmless. I am just bait. We are prey here in this forest. We do what we must. You see, I cannot bear to look at you any longer. But please, no one enters this forest without a reason. And I know these parts better than anyone. I do not just hang from trees, I tell you, this is true. So please, let me go, and I'll make sure that all your pains and sufferings brought upon by these lands will not be for... Yes, well,
If you are prey of the wolf fae, then perhaps you know the location of the mother of the Strangler.
Yes, I do. Yes, of course. Yes, I'll
Speak
take
quickly
you to
before
her.
I break your neck while you hang there.
How do you? And I have a dagger poised to throw at her face. How do you know the name and tongue of my friend? How do you know such a thing? Cursed dear.
Well, okay, I will gain nothing from lying, and it's weird hearing because she still speaks with her accent even now in her frail state.
Uh-huh.
We captured her, and I kept her, and I studied her, and I spoke to her, and I made love to her, and then I sucked her soul out. This is the truth.
Oh, he looks Dakari.
All right, I'm
disgusted
gonna give you the benefit here, Wendell. You see, I'm about to kill her. In being an ogre, you feel that ataraxia just go away for a moment and be replaced by like a nuclear explosion of rage that's probably shocking. But you are getting right beside me, and my hand goes back, so I'm gonna let you.
So Dakari is pleased by that sensation of rage, especially coming from one such as you. So what he does is while the Babanshi is still hanging there, he's going to bring his foot up and kick the hanging Babanshi towards you so that he swings in an arc to right in front of you.
All right, well, I was trying to throw a dagger at her face to kill her, and I guess he doesn't stop me. So
he's not going to stop you at all.
yeah,
He's going to help
apparently
you
not. So let's have a look here. Oh, 8 are alive tonight.
That's an 8, yeah.
I have never rolled this way before, this consistently. Just all 1s and 2s. Yeah, so that's 27.
Yeah, I'll just make a roll for the heck of it. No, well, of course the dagger finds its target, and slowly the limp body.
All right, so I gotta get the action here. So I pull the dagger back. The fire of rage burning in my eyes like a hornet. Enough lies! And I silence her forever. The dagger piercing into her head, opening her metaphysical third eye, causing it to bleed down into her eyes, staining her white teeth, dripping onto the shadowy cloak that she had as she swings forward, her eyes filling with that aura as her skull is broken as she swings back limply and lifelessly. Her own
Dakar is immediately after he'd done that. He was immediately after that rage was stoked in him after hearing of the foul deed of eating someone's soul. He immediately regrets what he just did because that she might have been able to tell him where the location of the mother of the Strangler was, but he was so caught up in his rage once again that he made a terrible mistake twice in one day, and so he begins to get really agitated. What did I do?
My eyes just simmering with that rage, and I pull the dagger from her face. You have felt the sting of truth, tongue of liar.
So when the body swings back towards him, he catches it and he begins to shake it as if maybe there's still some life left in the bottom of you. But tell me where. And he realizes
Pull
it's
the
dead.
dagger with parts of brain on it out, and I smell it for just a moment, slightly, before I clean it and put it away. Knowing her scent, as she knew and defiled and raped and murdered and drank the soul of my friend.
He looks to you, got it. There must be more around here. We'll find one and we'll make it speak.
That is a waste of time, Ogre.
No, I must have vengeance for Farragher.
I look at you and I nod my head, like, I don't know, I'm more empathetic to you, and I put my hand softly on your shoulder and pat you twice.
What did I do?
He
He says. He puts his hands on his head.
I have wronged you, and for this I apologize. I should not have taken your opportunity. But I lost the thoughts of what she had done, the horrible things she had done of lust and hate, of seeds and teeth of darkness. I simply had to unleash my sting upon her and fill her with the poison that she tried to inject into me.
It is not your fault, you got it. We cannot choose when the sorry. We cannot choose when the rage of Mool takes us. It consumes us and makes us do what we must. Let's just find another one and make it talk.
I look around. I think they're all dead. Or I look sort of almost embarrassed.
I'm just looking like I'm there with Chia, and I just have almost like a slightly disgusted look, sort of looking at the ogre and looking at the ogre, and then at you, you gotta kind of, and like I carry that disgusted look, kind of like at both of you, like, and of course in my mind I'm thinking that this woman is falling in thrall with this with ogre.
When I see that, my heart just shatters, and I look down. I feel disgusted and nearly gripped with emotion of tears, but I fight back, still fire inside me, still a need to know that we must escape and survive. But in terms of showing respect to our ogre, I allow him to continue to hold the light of the Morgul, the truth, in his hand.
Dakar still returning Solmu's disapproving gaze. What are you looking at, winged boy? Just because you're not touched by moles I am. You don't have to look down on me. I saw you looking at me like that before in the cottage. I don't want your eyes gazing down on me. Do you understand me?
I understand. But you're shaking a dead body.
No, he actually forgot that he was holding the dead body and throws it down in frustration.
Come, let us move westward. Always westward, westward until light. And I put my head down and move silently, solemnly.
I know.
Westward, I feel shame gripping my core.
Go ahead.
Chia, the one that you let go earlier, maybe we can get that one to talk. We know that one still lives.
And I actually kind of move kind of out of the way, and it's a looking down at the Banshee that have fallen, and the one still being throttled and probably still attached to its own trap. Kind of looking at it with a new disgust, and then looking at Dakar, and a frown and a brow creasing. It is I do not know where it is, and I do not pretend to.
He looks frustrated again. He takes another big swig of his alcohol that's starting to become empty. He's been sipping on it since we entered the dark forest, and at the notice that he's going to be without alcohol suddenly makes him feel a little bit more uneasy, because the the drink, the alcohol was all that was keeping his rage in check. It allows him to keep himself stable when otherwise he might just turn into some mad berserker. And he realizes that, like the alcohol slipping, his control over himself is slipping, and he thinks about the rage that Mool has blessed him with, and perhaps maybe it has its downfalls, as he's experienced multiple times today.
And she, as you speak those words, you do not want to or claim to know her presence or where her location. The rat, who's been sitting docile on your shoulder, perks up. Its whiskers splays out into the air, and it inhales heavily. And then it moves close to your ear, and "She's close," comes a voice. Tiny, squeaky voice, but a voice indeed. Comes from the rat. But no one, not Jagada, Somu, or Dakar seems to hear anything, but you, clear as day, you heard it. "She's close."
And I look sharply in the direction, expecting to see another being. And it's a couple of seconds before I realize it's from the rat. And then I look, craning awkwardly, trying to attempt to look at this rat perched on my shoulder. And then it's almost a small gaping mouth before I return, kind of incredulously, disbelievingly, a soft "Where?"
She is beyond to the rat, she inhales again. "That way." And she perks her body so it becomes stiff, as to with her features direct you in the in what would be the opposite direction of that you've been traveling for the longest time now. So moving back.
And I look in the indicated direction, trying to see if I could see anything in that direction, kind of almost still that tinge of disbelief, because I'm listening to a rat.
Nothing but trees. And Yagada, you would probably notice that Chia is looking to the east, back from where you came.
I just follow.
I glance over and look at that.
Did we hear Chia go where? Did we hear her say that?
It was like a soft sort of like where kind of thing.
But, and still the Babanshi hangs. No, she actually, the car, you pulled her down, and the snare which held her levitating snaps, and her body collapses hard on the ground.
I actually hadn't made direct movement to move that way, but I am peering in that direction, and then it's a clearing of my throat, and it's a speaking up louder than I had before, but it's still very subdued tone, and then it goes, "I heard something kind of vague about it. Well, I say it vaguely, kind of thing. I don't actually say that. I say I heard something."
You heard
Let us go in that direction.
What? No.
What did you hear? What are you talking about?
And
Yes, tell us.
it's a hesitancy as she seems to be thinking through it, and then it goes, "I think the Bob and she may be in that direction."
But you think there's another one of them?
There's the one I injured, so there must be.
Oh, you injured one. I did not know. Well, yes.
Not the injured one, not the one I injured, but the one that was injured, I meant. Excuse me.
You mean that we met when we entered the forest?
And I nod, and it's a yes, the injured one.
Well, there are many Bavanshi in this forest. They are a very large species.
It matters not which one. We just need to find one.
And then kind of looking at Dakar for a long moment, and then it goes. And then I say, I'm pretty sure she's in that direction, Dakar.
Come, follow me. Let's go.
I glance at Solmu. I don't know that it is wise or prudent in any way to head in the opposite direction when daylight glorious embraces so close. I think this is most foolhardy.
I would have to agree with Yagata.
Should we return to the town empty-handed? Is that what you want?
Well, perhaps it is best that we return to the town.
I at least want to have a lead. Faragur's death will not be avenged if we leave with nothing.
Seems. Well, I suppose that I do have a responsibility after all. I saw what had happened to him, the worm root thing that was from the bag. I perhaps used recklessly, irresponsibly, and that is my shame. Let us make it. And I look like I can't believe I'm going to say this. Like, this is too much for me. Let us make it to the edge so that we might allow Salum and Chia, if you wish, to disengage, and return to the light, to the safety, and then I will. I will return with you.
Fine. If they do not have the heart for it, then let them leave.
I don't. They know how to get.
Go ahead.
I just finished what I was saying.
I don't think.
Oh.
Surely, Yagata, you would not want to go into this forest with the ogre.
I have a debt to pay to that dead man.
I can redirect my rage. What are you talking about, bird boy?
Saying that with your action, you're losing your drink there.
It was an accident.
Chia, what were you trying to say now?
I frown at Yagata and kind of listening to the rest, and then it goes, folding arms, and it's I've had enough of being treated as though I have to cling to protection. I will go with Dakar if none of you will.
Yes, she has more heart than you, bird boy.
Perhaps she's more suicidal. Yagata, surely you will see the reasoning in this. You've gotten plenty of fauna and strange beetles. Do not understand, but surely that will help in further understanding this blight that you spoke of.
Well, I do have a great understanding of the blight, as I unleashed the bag upon the Nihongi and witnessed what it did even to the same ogre, and it is that same said reason that I find myself in a debt of some type. It is Sitchin's teachings that we must own up to what we have done, to take responsibility, and taking responsibility means, I suppose, in this culture, taking steps towards vengeance.
But what of Anadora? What of their people? They must know the effects of the blight.
Yes, well, it is true everything you say. I am in an unfortunate position, philosophically speaking. I look very torn. Like I'm like,
If you can, you may uh, instruct me. I will try my best to understand, but what you've learned of the Blight, and upon our reach to the edge of the forest, I will relay that information the best I can.
I also have not been able to acquire the herb, the root that we set out into the forest for in the first place, which is most unfortunate.
Yes, we should not return to the town empty-handed. I do not seek to take the head of the mother this day. I only seek to learn where she is. In that way I may gather a force of the guild, and we can, and other ogres of strength can avenge Faragur's death together, as ogrekind was meant to do.
That seems like an amazingly reasonable proposition from the mouth of an ogre. I do not think in good conscience I can deny such a thing, particularly since you said that you think there may be another Babanshi close. Perhaps this, then, as a settlement, will give you this candle. And I pull a candle out and I take it and I light it to the torch. Until the tallow has completely burned, and to this mark, and I mark off right at the bottom with my fingernail, we shall look. That should be perhaps a quarter of an hour. We may look how you wish, and then we will universally leave the forest if we cannot find such a thing. Would that be agreeable to all parties?
Yes, that is all I need.
And so with that, he takes the last
Very well.
drink from his bladder and he discards it away, almost as if he is discarding any sense of doubt and also self-control with the rest of his alcohol, and he steels himself for the remainder of the journey.
I have a hesitant and reluctant but determined look on my face as I keep a very constant eye on the flame, hoping it to be burned soon, perhaps before we encounter more terror. Thinking, well, even in this environment, 15 minutes is still perhaps a doable amount of time. But I am going to continue my visual inspection, searching, now that we even have even more light of the forest floor and trying to find anything of use.
I nod at you, Yugata, like when you say, like I don't speak up, almost as the proper way a man just
Obviously.
nod. I don't voice my opinion. I just go.
I also look towards the candle, but for different reasons than Yugata. And if you are perceptive, you can see that I'm clinging more to the lead of Solmu, kind of where I had been almost not quite at ease next to Yugata, but after having the candlelight, in the more perceptive can tell that I've always been a little bit distant from Yugata. But you can also, now that I'm very distant from Dakir, especially now, and I actually take a few shuffling steps away from Yugata, looking at that candle in her hand.
I don't take my eyes off the candle. Just watch. Just hoping for this time of darkness and terror to be over. The only thing really that allowed me to even stay out here is my familiarity with the initial 100 feet or so of the wood, having been out there many times.
And as you begin to travel to the east, the candle slowly melts and the wax moves along its cylindrical shape, making little droplets, which land in the soil and are quickly covered by the soil that you're shuffling and the moving of. Eventually, not more than maybe 8 minutes after you set out, you begin to, because you're all unawares, you're all trying to be aware of your surroundings. You hear the faint breathings of a creature, and before you know it, you can actually see the silhouette of the Babanshi sitting down with her. She's sitting on the ground, her back leaning up against a tree whose trunk has been bent, so it almost looks bonsai in nature, and it makes this crude almost like a chair, but only the leg, only the rest for the back. And she's sitting there, and there's no mistaking it's the very same Babanshi that you met earlier. It's astounding that you could locate the same one in this vast forest, and her wounds are still slowly leaking blood, and you can see that her fingers, her nails, they move across, and she gathers the blood in her hand, and she drinks her blood as not to lose any of it. And she does this slowly. Please, all of you who feel, some of you can stay back, sure, when you start to hear the noise, but if anyone tries to approach, please roll stealth, if that's what you wish.
Stop and cringe a bit, like.
Dakar knows he's not the quietest person in the world, so he's going to look to Yagata and let her take the initiative.
All right, I guess I'm going to begin to move towards this individual.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I take my little candle and I just drop it where, or actually I'll subtly set it down, kind of putting it into the ground. Obviously, I could care less if fire or catch the fire. It'd be a bonus. So I just sort of push it in the ground, and I'll attempt to use stealth and misdirection to, if I can.
Sure.
Ooh, I think it doesn't stop. Even though it does, it's true.
Oh, all right. Let's see here. Okay. Well, I'm very interested. What's your number?
My number is 26.
Oh.
Prestigious. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, the Babanshi actually springs up onto her feet, stares right into your direction, but you're sure that you were quiet. You made next to no noise, but her ears perked up. She looked, her eyes widened suddenly, and there's a tiny pupil in a sea of white, two tiny pupils, and they gaze at you, and in her hand you can see a convulsing red, crimson, beating root, and she holds it like a soldier would hold a grenade, not with the safety, not yet sprung, and she holds it in her tiny but still very muscular arm, her lean arm, into the air, threatening to throw it at you if you would come any closer.
What is this
root? The root is you take a look at it and you quickly notice it's the same root from which that you acquired and tossed out of your backpack.
Oh, I'm about to just sprint at her, and then I just stop dead. Like, that's utterly, like, it's just too horrifying. Having seen what that does, do with the smallest amount, but also being very interested in horticulture, I'm like just staring at her hand. I'm like, how is this not fucking her up? Like, that's fascinating to me. So I stare and look at her. But I'm definitely at a standoff. I do have 2 daggers just ready to just go right through her throat if she throws that damn thing at me.
Mm-hmm.
And we all see her, correct?
Correct.
And seeing the red root and the Babanshi's hand and recognizing it for what it is. Probably a heartbeat after Yugata herself does, and after she is frozen, it's a whole compulsion of adrenaline coming forward, and it's a raising of hands of a kind of crying out in her native Pelganese, a kind of wait, 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 and probably not understood by any of them around her, kind of crashing through kind of loudly to Yugata's side, hands raised sort of way.
Yeah, and when you do, you certainly attract attention, and the Babanshi, she looks at you and she recognizes your face, and in amazement she stares at you. It's still grasping the root firmly above her head, but she looks at you with confusion, and then her posture softens ever so slightly because of the recognition of someone who spared her earlier.
And it's a hand still raised, kind of in a complacating gesture at the Babanshi, and then kind of turning and putting a hand on, like, towards Yugata, doing the same, like, calming gesture, the same settle down gesture kind of way. And then it's a slow gesture moving forward and looking back at this injured Babanshi, the feelings of pity and compassion kind of overwhelming again, looking at this creature, kind of pulling at the eyes and making the wrinkles of the face of compassion, drawing her brow, and kind of moving forward towards the Babanshi very hesitantly, very slowly.
Yeah, and she keeps Yugata within her sights, and she occasionally looks at you, but she doesn't seem... Well, okay, give me a second. I could have you show your intent with a, let's see here. Is it a meditation roll? What would be the appropriate roll to show that you are not meaning harm? Andrew, would you please indulge?
I just had to turn my muted gimmick off. I was looking to answer some comments on the live feed there.
Oh, yeah.
It would be diplomacy.
Okay, so
Diplomacy.
Please roll diplomacy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 13.
13, alright, and I'll roll her insight. Oh, that's an 8 into an 8. Okay. She steps to the side and with her other hand motions for you to stand next to her if you wish to approach her. And now she firmly stares at Yugata.
And very slowly, as to not disrupt or break this stormy calm that has taken presence in this social interaction. And it's a very cautious coming towards the Babanshi and making way to the Babanshi's side. I kind of put a hand still, one towards the Babanshi and one still towards Yugata. And as I finished my journey to the Babanshi, it's a kind of hesitant looking in her face, kind of trying to get attention before kind of gently resting her hand on the Babanshi's shoulder.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then please, Somo, Dekar, and Yugata, please roll a perception roll.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Is it around hearing or sight or smell? What is it based on?
It's sight-based. Thanks. And I will apply and it will be harder than usual because of the lighting conditions.
I only got a 10 because my perception is terrible.
Well, I have a 2, so there's that.
I got a 12.
It will last forever. That is taking into account my penalty, though. I have the light eyes penalty, which accounts for this.
And
That
Somu,
and
you-
12. That's not taking the penalty because
Okay.
I glow like a torch. So
Yeah. Oh, okay, not taking the penalty. Then Somu, you manage to see the slightest of smirk come upon the Babanshi's face as Shia puts her hand on her shoulder.
look out! I shout.
Okay, Shia, if you would wish to look out, please roll a reaction now.
It's not like a scream, like a look out. It's more of just like an order, like look out. I just wanted a note on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a 15.
15. All right. Even the lookout, I guess, from Somu, the Babanshi manages to position herself behind you, holding the root, which flexes and tries to get a hold of your neck, just inches from your neck, as if it were like Yugata's daggers did earlier. She holds it, and she now looks with a crazy stare towards Yugata and the rest of you.
I'm looking on with fascination. This is extraordinarily interesting. I'm like, oh, because I so want to know what these things do. Like, as you know, that's like a passion of mine. And I'm so fascinated. Chalking it up as a learning experience. I'm still the dagger. If she touches her with it, she's getting a dagger to the head. But I mean, I could still watch and see what happens.
Dakar tries to spot a rock that he can snatch up with his sling to attack, and as soon as he does, he stands at the ready, but he doesn't do anything, knowing that his next move could spell the end for Chia. So he manages to compose himself, even though he is struggling with his own anger and fury at this indiscretion against his companion.
All right.
Well, I myself, it's a kind of sigh, not really a relief. It's almost a exasperated feeling. It's a almost reminiscent of the same trapped position she had been probably some hour earlier.
Mhm.
And it's a watching the root, tilting head away from it, and at the same time still not really trying to make any hostile movement, just a cautious frozen.
And Shia, now that you've been forcefully positioned so close to the Babanshi, she's standing so close that her chest touches your back, and you can tell her heartbeat comes fast and fluttering, and the hand that she's holding underneath your ribs on your stomach, you can feel that it's starting to leave a sweaty residue as she is, which is a mixture of her blood and her sweat, and you can tell that her breath is coming fast, and she seems to be afraid, really.
Yeah, I do have a very inside forte in emotions.
But the situation remains the same. She holds the root up to Shia's neck, and she has suddenly started to motion with her head for Somu to come closer. She's jolting her head, and
I just look at her, and I step back, and I just very casually put my hand on the pommel of my Khopesh that's just slung in my belt. Just obviously completely ignoring her gesture. Being well aware of what she's doing, I just step back and I like flourish my wings a bit, like, how dare you even look at me, kind of thing.
And when you do, her grip now suddenly tenses on you, Shia, and she drives her long black nails into your ribs, into the parts between the ribs, and you can tell that the blood which comes from your body is turned black as soon as it touches her black nails, and you would imagine that the blood would start to flood down towards your hips, but the blood is soaked up slowly into her nails, and that very same heartbeat which was fluttering and frightened like a tiny rodent is now coming steady as she is giving herself a impromptu blood transfusion, it seems, from you. And she still looks with these amazingly huge eyes, which are giving this almost cross-eyed, crazy stare, trying to keep both Yugada and Somu within vision. And Shia, this is a horrible feeling for you. The nails first piercing your skin, piercing your clothing, then your skin, and then feeling like there are 4 giant mosquitoes actually sucking the blood from you, not just taking the blood that naturally would erupt from your wounds, but trying to gain more than that.
And I actually cry out as these nails pierce through. And I would also like to know I am wearing a studded jerkin, so it would have had to. It pierced through, and it kind of caused a surprise, and it's a cry out of surprise, and then it's an actual cry of pain, and face contorting kind of thing, still struggling away from latching onto the neck, and but I can't really. I don't have any free movement to do anything other than cry out.
My eyes go wide, like something breaks in my mind, and it's something that I'm not quite sure of what it is. But my eyes go wide as I hear her like, her scream as she whelps out, and seeing this horrible thing. I would never, though she is not Freyine, she is something else. But still, she's not darkness, the thing that whatever is prodding her. My eyes go wide and they begin to glow with this beautiful golden light, and the silhouette around me begins to glow brighter. My eyes just flash with a bright burst of golden light, and I very much am trying to, like a sunlight flashbang almost, matter, not yelling out, but more like my mouth opens and there's that glow, from my mouth. But I want to say something, but I just can't. As I and my wings open up completely, as there's like this flash of golden light, and I'm very much trying to intimidate her, trying to cower her, paralyze her, something, using one of my abilities.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
So,
would I have to roll to see if I am affected by this as well?
No, this is just for her.
Okay, and your roll was?
Not that high. I got a 10.
A 10. The sudden display in front of the Babanshi makes her push Shia forward, retracting her arm. Shia actually maybe pushing you to the ground before she turns, and she throws the root not towards any of you, but towards what you now at first didn't quite notice, there seems to be a rock formation put almost, and now that you follow the arc of the root, it looks as it is placed there deliberately, and upon further inspection you can see that it has intricate carvings cut into it in relief, and the root touches the stone, and you can hear a large rumbling. And yes, you gotta go ahead.
I do not take my eyes off anything that's happening, as this fascinates me. I do have a good speed, and I run the fuck away from that root as fast as I can while watching all of this, as I am amazed to see what happens. I do remember that it seems to deal with a large area. I don't want to die like that.
Yep, sure. And the root comes into contact with the stone. It suddenly multiplies, becomes like the base of a spider's web, and it clutches around the rocks, and suddenly roots sprawl out, lifts these ginormous boulders up, showing a passage in the soil, a tunnel, and she gets up of the air and slides the last few feet, I guess, towards the tunnel before chanting a word, Gasara, and it echoes, Gasara, and the rocks collapse down over this the tunnel once more, and she disappears from sight.
With the sudden burst of speed, like, you know, my wings are open, and then a big sort of buffet of wind as I shoot them forward, and I dash forward, and even almost like my body is acting, and my mind is still trying to catch up with it. You know, as she is pushed forward, I sort of grab hold of her so she doesn't just sort of fall, and actually pull her away from that. You know, I grab, you know, by the left and right arm, kind of up by the shoulders, and I like pull you close to me as I see the root, and I like my wings sort of buff it back, and I leap, kind of momentarily bringing you up just like a foot or two, as I just sort of leap backwards as the rock, you know, the root brings the rock back down to the ground, kind of thing. Then, like, I'm holding you, then I kind of do like a double take, and I like let go, and I'm like, ugh.
And I actually, it's almost like a broken marionette. You are very easily able to pull this ragdoll, this small figure that is Chia, away towards you, and kind of almost like hits you with the force of her body, with the force that you pulled her towards her. And then backing away and kind of pushing away, she stumbles a little bit, and it takes her a little second to regather herself, and she's actually got sprigs of tears in the corner of her eyes from pain, and as regaining balance, it's a clutching to where those daggers of nails have pierced my side, and it's a kind of looking to where the Banshee, where I heard this loud crackling motion, this yelling voice, and boulders smashing down, looking in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I have a brief sort of shard of jealousy, and I'm grabbing and saving her that sort of falls and crumbles away to an almost bit of pleasure at seeing him throw her away repulsed.
Dakir, like, as soon as the Banshee runs towards that open rock formation, Dakir tries to move to intercept, but once he arrives close to where that root fell and he sees what happened to that rock formation, he stops, not once the car endures, and then once the rock formation moves, and he screams out loud, knowing that Banshee was probably his best bet to figuring out where the location of the mother of the strangler was, and it's narrowly slipped through his fingers for reasons that this ogre cannot and probably will never understand.
And you gaze upon the you all gaze upon the little miniature, almost Stonehenge placed. You would have to be about 8 people holding hands to be able to reach around the rocks, and you can see that the roots they retract from the rocks, and they almost seem to crawl down with these pulsing motions towards the earth. And when they reach roots, they grab hold, and they seem to pierce and suck their way into these roots, which erupts, and tiny specks of red and green, almost spores, emerge from these exploding roots, these tree roots that exploded, and it covers the area with an increasing amount of spores, and the wind is actually coming towards you, threatening to pull these spores towards you.
I look behind me. You gotta.
Dakir uses his. He has very strong leg muscles, and he leaps away once he sees the wind pushing the spores towards, and begins to run in the direction that Yagata, I believe, is moving in, and where Solmu's flying with Chia in his arms.
Well, I let her go, and I just sort of backpedal a bit, like I jump back, and then I turn and make my way towards Yagata, kind of thing.
I run and try to get away, and don't try to not get away. But I do take note of the spores, of their shape, of the style, of everything about them, to etch it upon my mind's eye. But I run as well.
And you gaze upon these spores, and you can tell that what you first thought were a mix of red and green spores are actually spores that they look like they almost look like tiny umbrellas, and they twirl in the air as the umbrella is kind of slanted, and it makes this spiral shape, and they rotate, showing the red side, then the green side, one after the other. And with this shape, they manage to stay in the air for a long time, making this almost wall of spores, which moves slowly towards you. But you start running, and you outpace the spores fast. And as you gaze behind you, you can see that some of the spores have fallen to the ground, and it's covered this entire area, centered around the stones, with this fine field of red and green, which is in stark contrast to the huge amounts of blacks and browns and dark shades of green that otherwise permutate the forest. And as you run, you actually knock over a now extinguished and fully burnt down candle.
But I actually do, like my hair, my golden hair whips as I look back. I'm quite fast, so I do look back at Chia, remembering that she's not all too quick. There are those moments, like as we're moving, like I'll stop, like I'll lift up a few moments, like a few feet in the air, then I'll like land back down, like kind of going over a route, and then I'll stop and I look back at Chia and perhaps any others that are slower.
I have a speed of 17, and that helps you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're then I'm right with you.
Tim's at 17 as well, I think.
Oh, okay. Then it's just Chia. Then I'll stop and like almost like looking at her, just sort of. I don't know if
And
your leg's broken or something.
Kind of is a little bit slower on the uptake to run away, but
Mine's at 18
run
right
after. It does run after. I'm actually at 15 now, a whopping 15, and so it's a little bit climbing after, but still trying to get away, just as the rest is kind of ignoring some little buffet of wings, but still going forward.
What was that? That was some sort of black magic?
It was the same plant that they brought, that they dug the pit there and tried to infest upon our home, my home.
Oh,
And it is something born, spawned deep in the bosom of Aramon itself, something that lies between the moons, something that fell to the earth of Demar, something that should not be here. We must avoid it still. To look upon it, it was amazing, its stark eldritch quality. Things of darkness, things of light.
sort of keep silent at your explanation of what was going on, just like nodding, like, oh yeah. Does that satisfy your need to search the car?
Of course not. We got nothing. Nothing but those biters' filthy weapons that they tried to use against the community. They may have gotten away from me today, but I will find them, and I will make sure that this never happens again.
Yes, you may return at your own leisure, but our deal has been struck and the candle is burned. The time is gone. The time to return home is now. We shall all do this. And I turn and I will begin to make my way with the most haste towards the west. Still, of course, always combing the ground for anything that might be of use.
I do look at Dakar, like I look at you, Dakar, for a moment. You know, you could see a bit of like sorrow, like almost like I was rooting for you. But then my stoic presence, you know, kind of goes over my face again. Then yes, and then I follow you. You gotta.
Dakar looks in a state of absolute disappointment. Probably the stark opposite of what you guys originally saw him when he almost single-handedly conquered the wolf fairies who came to attack the town with his sling throw. Now he feels completely disappointed and completely almost betrayed by his own rage, which had only led him to glory before. Now it's led him to stupidity and mistakes that in a state that he's never faced before. He is absolutely disappointed and forlorn, but he begrudgingly follows Yagata and heads to the west.
And as you begin your travels once more towards the west, you would assume that with this little detour there would still not be more than maybe at this quite breakneck pace you're holding, there would be no more than half an hour of travel before you would reach the outskirts of the forest. And you still look around you, and you do find some well, not leaves, but the the sharp things from the other non-leaves which these trees can produce.
Pines.
Pines, yeah, please, thanks. The pines, and they are thicker, like aloe leaves, and and these can be gathered, these can be boiled, and what remains when you boil all the water from them is a thick, gooey liquid which works like an adhesive which could hold. If you would pour it on someone's hands and clasp them together, wait for 5 minutes, they would not be able to remove the bond without ripping their flesh from one hand onto the other. And you gather enough of these to maybe make, let's see, I guess you don't even use liters in your stupid system, but a nice bottle, you can pour it for a while. And at first what seems to be a mirage, something just playing at the back of your eyes, suddenly small strings of light starts to emerge. And finally, it's like it takes you by surprise. You pass a tree, and then there it is, the flowing fields of Roduland once again before you, and you realize that you have emerged no more than a couple of kilometers from Anadura, and you rejoice in the light, for this day the sun is high in the sky, and its warmth, it beats down on you, and for a second everything is complete bliss for the most of you, as you have made it out of the forest of fear, but only to be greeted by a huge smoking pylon coming up from Anadura's center, and it is in many shades. It comes in shades of white and black, and it swirls towards the sky, almost making a new cloud above the city that is your home and workplace. And I would very much like a soliloquy from you.
You had it the first time, so
Okay, thanks. Soliloquy. Yeah. Eventually. Thanks.
You got that music ready, Elvis?
Yes, I do. You'll start.
You want me? Dance with your main man? Okay. As I hit, the light cascades over my face, washing me as if it were water. I breathe deeply in, taking the air, the sweet smells of the fields into my orifices, bathing in the light, touching it almost reflexively as I run, hitting into a daydream. So strong is the beauty, is the light as it rushes over my mind. I am home, and I feel its prickly love, the love of my fellows, the love of my community swell and bloom within me. That love that took root so long ago. And as I see what calamity might be here, it grips me in terror and confusion, thinking this cannot be the work of Mihangi. So what new fear may face the village I love? I look out at it, confused. The village itself, the walls, the structure, that is the community. The hollowed ancient stories that they hold, the memories, the laughter, the love, the shining, the children's eyes, and the joy and presence, and food and family, community. It is the structure of this place, and I see smolders, I smell burning. I look at the shelter. I look at the safety it provides being tarnished, being torn away from me. And I feel the anger of the queen bee. And I feel the buzzing begin within me again. Is it the touch and taint of Mool rupturing into my heart? Or is it the retribution of Sitchin flowing through my veins? And I yell out, "No! No! You will not have this! You will not have this!" My eyes large, wide, and full of light, and fear, and anger, and wrath for my home, and the damage that they have done.
Guess I'll go next. So Dakar steps out of the forest with his head hung low and his thoughts running rampant before he even sees the destruction laid upon his new home. He thinks about the rest of his life and the fact that he's been riding the red waves of rage for his entire existence, and they have never let him astray. But now his anger has made a fool of him, and he knows not what to think. He thinks about the missteps that he has made today and the inaction that he has created that have kept him from reaching the vengeance for Farad'ur that he hoped to receive. He hoped to return to the town with the head of the mother of the Strangler and use that as a trophy to lead the rest of the ogres back into the forest to take down the biters who've done wrong against him. He sought glory in the name of Mul, and now he knows that he may not receive it. He thinks about the fact that his anger, for the first time in his life, may have led him astray. And he thinks that perhaps he was not righteous enough in his fury. Perhaps he did not live righteously in the name of Mul. And perhaps now he must seek another way. Or perhaps this is just perhaps this is just him being unsure. He knows not what to think. And then he looks up to see his town left in smolders and ruins, and he thinks that this is the action of the biters, and perhaps they're laughing at him. They escaped him once again, and now they have lashed back at him. Perhaps he was arrogant in his initial attacks, and now he is paying the price. He knows not what tomorrow is going to bring, but he hopes that perhaps his rage will lead him back onto the righteous path, into the path of retribution that he hoped to achieve.
Guilt is what I feel when I come out of the Stark Woods. It's this guilty feeling because I feel this immense relief that this smoke smoldering from the sky, clouding its vision, the blue from our vision. I can't feel anything other than relief and having getting out of this dark woods, this haunting that has been lingering me, that I don't know how long it has been, perhaps the entire time I've been in this woods. But now it is almost behind me. It is able to be forgotten. I can't live with lingering in the past anymore. I have to put away thoughts, those bad thoughts, thoughts of chains, thoughts of beings being tied to the wall. So reminiscent, so familiar, so horrifically familiar. And I can't let myself dwell into it. I can't let myself dwell into guilt once more again. I have to cast this off. I cannot let myself linger inside that tunnel at the end. The basin full of teeth, red crimson with blood, and rising up and becoming my figure from my own flesh and livelihood. This familiar weight now lingering very literally on my shoulders, skittering around, very animal-like, very bestial, unsure, uncertain. Should I cast this creature from my shoulders, but I'm afraid of the retribution that will ensue if I do so. Do I accept its help? Is it help? Is it treachery? Is it trickery? Am I merely a pawn? What have I done?
Harried-faced creatures bound by iron. Demons that seek to well up from the doings of black magic. All home to this place of darkness, this place of wood, pine. Cursed creatures, all of them. All of them deserve a fate that is only death. For they are darkness, they are sickness, they are misery. This succubus, even, she screamed out in pain when that horrible creature put herself inside. I can't stop wondering why she calls herself this human, this succubus. What is her purpose, if not coil her wretched fingers around my heart? No. She is despicable. She's far from the light of the sun. She is weak. And she surely carries a demon with her. Yagata, as always, she proves well in her leadership and her guidance. Though if only I see her weakness too. I cannot deny it. She does not react appropriately. Aldous, she always knew how to react. My loved wife, so far from her now. Light, finally, reaching, piercing through this place. Is it Anadora, finally? What? Smoke. Fire. What have those wretches done?
All right, thanks. And with that, we draw the third session to a close.
Well, thank you very much for flame tending that for all of us, Max, and everyone that played for all doing wonderful jobs. And let it hear it for all the players in the comments section with a wonderful applause for Max. Wonderful flame tending as well. Make sure you go to drivethrurpg.com. You can get your physical print on demand copies of Within the Ring of Fire. First 5 books out, or you can hit me up on Facebook. Anderwood, just send me a friend request and you could get a PDF for only $75. Every PDF that will ever come out for Within the Ring of Fire. The first 5 are out, working on 3 more. You get all that. Best deal in RPGs today. So you want to hit me up, get that PDF bundle, or you can get your physical copies of drivethrurpg.com. But come join us on Raw Immersive Game, the official Within the Ring of Fire forum for Facebook. You can come and join us. There are about 1,000 people are there. You can find Google Plus games. You can find all your questions about Within the Ring of Fire. You can find out exclusive content before it's released. I talked to a lot of great people. It's not just for Within the Ring of Fire, not just for games from Raw Immersive Games, but for anything RPG, and for finding games, Google Plus, Skype, even local games. People have found them. Loads of Within the Ring of Fire games. Start up there. If you want to get into Within the Ring of Fire saga on your computer, on your local aspect, on your game shop, and so forth, that's the place to go and find it and make your thoughts destiny, manifest reality, and do it with your mind nugget. So thanks everyone out there that has watched and will watch and is still watching and constantly watches as well. Thanks to everybody here for playing. Again, we do appreciate you, everyone who has joined the RPG revolution and embraced the flames of Morgul.